What if I told you the reason you can't stick to eating better has nothing to do with discipline? What if it's actually your nervous system? If that hits, you're in the right place. So many high performers know exactly what to do, but still feel stuck in cycles of cravings, inconsistency, and frustration. Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Minty Lam, and I help high achieving professionals overcome burnout so they can feel calm, clear, and back in control without sacrificing their success. And we're continuing the mini High Performer Reset series, where I'm breaking down how different areas of my life have changed since healing burnout. In this episode, we're doing part 2 of diving into my relationship with food now. What actually changed, what I did differently, and why things finally started to stick. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why your habits aren't the problem and what actually needs to shift first. So stick around because this might completely change how you approach your health. Okay, guys, so in the part 1 of this series, I was talking to you guys about my relationship with food and how it was affecting me and how I was coping when I was at the peak of my burnout. And so if you haven't listened to that, please go back and do. Summing up, I was addicted to sugar. I was super inflamed. I was eating out twice a day. I was throwing up once a week from stress. My body couldn't process the food. I was skipping breakfast purely because I thought I wasn't hungry, but I actually, again, didn't have the capacity to digest food. So yeah, I went through all that stuff in the last one. But today we're going to talk about what my life now is like in relation to food and what I did to get here. So I will, again, please go back and listen to the episode. But I did say in that last episode how I don't have any vices. Mainly, sugar has been my vice, but I'm allergic to alcohol and I've never smoked weed. So sugar and food really was my coping strategy with my stress. I was 100% an emotional eater because it was the only sense of relief I could control and get frequent access to throughout my day when I was really dysregulated. So, I talked about at that end of the episode about how a lot of my clients will come to me and say, I know I should be working out more. I know I should be eating healthier, but I just can't stick to it. I don't have the discipline or willpower. And it has actually, discipline and willpower will play a part when you start to make some healthy lifestyle changes, but you can't start there. It's not sustainable, not from the perspective of the nervous system. And I think probably you can just even know that in your own life. Like, when have you ever tried to do a really hard diet or a really hard exercise regimen just to give up after a few weeks, a few months, because it's not sustainable because you didn't have the capacity in the first place to maintain it, right? I'm sure that's probably happened to a few of you before. I know it's happened to me. So where things really changed for me to be able to sustain these things is through working with my capacity. Okay. But let's first start about what life looks like for me now that I'm on the other side of burnout, not even just on the other side of it. I've been living from a very regulated space for a few years now. Okay. If you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it. And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too. As far as my relationship with food, the first thing is now I actually know I have one. I'd never had awareness around my relationship with food before, and now I actually do. So now I'm actually able to pay attention to how food affects my body and see how it impacts it. Okay. I'm also 37 now, so I'm not, dealing with a 25-year-old metabolism or even a 30-year-old metabolism. I'm dealing with a 37-year-old metabolism. And so I remember my brothers used to always be like, wait till you get older and it's going to get you. And they're trying to curse me. I'm like, don't you guys want me to be fit forever? But anyways, so the first thing I will start with is, when I was really inflamed before during my last career, I remember just not feeling confident in my clothes. And I also felt like I didn't have this control that I wanted to over food. And I felt like food kind of owned me, if I'm being honest. And now that relationship's completely different. So just to I'll just start with breaking down by day, but so when I wake up first thing in the morning, I eat. Okay. And again, I know there's things like intermittent fasting, which can be beneficial for you. But as someone who is living in fight or flight for so long, which pretty much just means my nervous system has a tendency to easily kind of default back into it. I've had to become very intentional about like what stressors I'm adding to my body. And while intermittent fasting is a good one, I don't like it can be really supportive to your body. I don't do that if I know I'm lacking capacity or I'm kind of on the brink of it. Okay. So currently with my life where I'm at right now, with my level of stress that I'm dealing with, I do not intermittent fast. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I eat breakfast. Okay. Now, my breakfast used to look like non-existent, or if I did, I was looking for something really comforting, so like a donut or a pastry or something like that. Now my breakfasts are strictly protein. Okay, I'm usually getting about 30 to 40 grams of protein a day. I know I'm sounding probably like a gym bro right now, but I'm going to explain to you why that's important. So I'm eating, like for instance, what I ate today was I had 2 eggs, I had half a cup of egg whites, I had half a cup of spinach mixed in with those eggs, and I had half a cup of cottage cheese and one little piece of bacon. Okay, so it's about probably around 45 grams of protein there. Now, why I do that now is because it sets up the rest of my day so I'm not having as many cravings for sugar or carbs. It sets up my blood sugar levels so that like I'm starting with something that's actually supportive to my body, okay? After that, I'm usually pretty satiated because, again, I started my day with protein and then I'm eating lunch, which again is protein focused. So I'm usually trying to get 30 to 40 grams of protein at lunch. Again, minimal carbs, not eating much sugar. I will usually let myself have a little bit of something sweet either after lunch or after dinner. But I don't snack like I used to. And then I go into dinner, and then again, I have something I got a fair amount of protein in it as well too, but I usually let myself have a little bit more comforting food at the end of the day, just because by the end of the day, your capacity is a little bit more max. So the body probably can actually digest, or it's your nervous system's a little bit more taxed by the end of the day. So, eating things that are a little bit easier to digest at the end of the day is actually not a bad thing. Okay. So, um, w- what I'm getting at here is I now have the capacity to eat. I eat about 110 to 120 grams of protein a day. I eat less than 100 grams of carbs. Okay. Now, let me start by saying this. I have never ever in my life been a calorie counter, a macros counter, any of the stuff I'm talking about now. If you're like, "Ugh, I don't want to doom into that into it sounds awful. I am you. I have been you. Okay. I've never been about the diets. I've never been about keto or carnivore, any of that. Never been about it because to me, it felt too restricting and I didn't have the capacity to do those things. And to me, it sounded like torture and it sounded stressful and it didn't sound fun. And because I've always been a foodie and I love food and it's been an emotional support buddy of mine for so long, I was like, a diet, macros, blah. Okay, never been my thing. Okay, I just started doing this in the last year or so. Okay. Now, what I will say is because I've done that, my body composition has started to change, okay? For the first time in my life, I'm like gaining real muscle, okay? Like I've always been I've been a dancer all my life, so my lower body's always been really strong. My upper body has not been. I've been relatively in shape, had some definition in my abs and stuff like that. But I've never actually felt upper body strong because I've never really had to be or trained it. For the first time in my life, for me, I actually have muscle coming in those areas. And so because of this, the way I'm eating for my life now, not only is my body recomposition changing, so I'm starting to feel more confident in my body in this new late 30s body that I have of mine, but I also have way more energy. Like I remember when I was still at the dealership, I would be crashing in the middle afternoon because of how I was eating. Not anymore. I don't midday crash. I don't need to nap. I feel satiated. And most importantly, I'm not reaching for sugar at every meal or like 5 times a day. I'm not keeping candy in the house. although Thomas loves to. I don't need chocolate in the house. Like, I have the capacity to say no to these things. Not all the time, okay? I'm gonna be really honest. When I have a little bit of dysregulation, I will, want something sweet, okay? But it's not to the capacity that it once was. I can have a bite or two, and that'll be enough for me, okay? One of the biggest struggles for high achievers is they can't tell whether they're burnt out or just overly tired. That's why I created the High Performer Stress Assessment, which will assess exactly what your mind and body are struggling with and what you need to start feeling more balanced, grounded, and happy ASAP. It only takes 2 minutes to complete, and you can find the link in the show notes below. But my point is this, is I've always wanted to, feel super, super confident in my body. And, if any of you know me before, you probably would be like, Mintu, I thought you were. And I was to an extent. And because I'm a dancer, you kind of don't really get time to think about that because you just got to get on stage and perform and do your thing. Not a stripper, by the way. That sounds bad, but I've performed on big stages for different artists around the world. We've opened for a lot of artists. If you don't know, I was part of a dance crew called the Fly Girls. We're still a crew. We just don't perform as much anymore. But we opened for Sean Paul, TLC, Sean Kingston. We used to be a part of America's Best Dance Crew tours when they came here, if any of you remember that. So I've Busta Rhymes, I've opened for lots of artists. But when you're performing, you got to be comfortable on your stage and wearing these costumes and outfits, whatever. Anyways, so I never really felt super, super confident in my body. I just had to get up on stage and do these things because that was my profession and what I loved. But now, because I have this relationship with food that's a lot healthier, I actually can feel confident in the body that I'm developing for myself. And the best thing is, it's a little, it's a little a new thing to be tracking my food and my macros and things like that, but I don't feel taxed by it. It actually feels very manageable. It actually feels like something I have the capacity for, where before I was like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? And part of me, wishes I still had the 20-year-old body that could eat anything and nothing would change. But the reality is hormones change. And especially in women, things change. And I'm also living a more sedentary life now. I don't walk around as much because I'm self-employed. I work from home. My clients are all online, So these are real life adjustments I have to make for myself. But I didn't have to force myself to get to this point. Okay? I had the capacity to actually be like, I can actually look at what I'm putting in my body now. I actually can choose healthier things because I have the energy to make these choices. Okay? Now, let's talk about what got me to this point of being able to do this. Well, it was consistent regulation. And you guys know I'm doing this new series. That's going to be my answer to every adjustment I've made. But it was consistent regulation. It was learning how to manage my stress in a way where I could now use my energy levels appropriately. Okay. So first off, what does consistent regulation mean? And then what do I mean by appropriate energy levels? Okay. So consistent regulation means creating safety in the body. You have something called a nervous system, which is a bunch of neural circuits throughout your body, which mainly kind of live in your chest, stomach, kind of your trunk of your body area, okay? And that nervous system is responsible for how you move throughout life, how you interpret life, what opportunities come your way, what you can handle, what you can manage, all these things, okay? And your nervous system is constantly scanning your environment for threat. Is this safe? Is it not? Is it safe? Is it not? Every split millisecond, whatever the smallest decibel of second is or metric of second is available, that's what it's scanning for all day long right now, okay? Now, when you are overrun with stress and you are not properly disposing or debriefing from the stress, which means you're constantly taking on stress, taking on stress, taking on stress, and you're not actually dispersing it from your body and getting it out, that stress now gets trapped in the body and it stays there and you hold on to it. And if you think of yourself like a container all day long, that stress is just building and building and building and building and building and building to the point where you feel like you're drowning. Okay. But what that stress tells the body is we're not safe. You have to constantly be on. You are not safe to relax. You are not safe to be present. You have to constantly be doing to fight your way out of this big barrel of stress that we're living in day after day. Okay. And so when your body is working against that stress, then it doesn't have the capacity to actually be present in the moment. Okay. Now, where regulation comes into place is showing the body that it's safe to be here, okay? Because when you're dysregulated, your body thinks a bear's chasing you, so you have to be activated all day long. Again, if you're in fight or flight or freeze, you're activated, you're tense, you're ready to fight, okay? So what regulation does is it shows the nervous system, hey, there's actually not a bear chasing us. It's just an email from our boss. Hey, there's not actually a bear chasing us. It was just a client looking for something they couldn't find, okay? All these things that stress us out throughout our days, our body doesn't know how to interpret it as something that's actually dangerous or not. So it just defaults to danger. And then what happens is you live in this constant state of fear, okay? Regulation, again, showing your body that it's safe, means essentially creating safety in the body through things that make you feel loved, make you feel connected, make you feel like you're safe to be you. Okay. And so I should probably do another episode on what it means to actually regulate your nervous system, but I have one from a few ways back that maybe we can link in the show notes here. But regulation just means creating safety in the body. Okay. And you can do that a few ways. You can do that through going for short walks. You can go that by playing with your pets, by stretching, by shaking, by humming and singing, dancing to your favorite songs, hugging a loved one, things that genuinely let your mind settle for a moment and let your body feel calm and safe. Those are regulating tools, okay? And we want to do that as consistently as possible, okay? Throughout your day, throughout your life. Now, I'm not going to go into depth on how to do all those things right now. That'll be another episode, which I've done before. But my point is, that's how I got to this point. By consistently creating safety in my body, by learning how to process and manage my stress effectively on a day-to-day basis. So it never gets to the point where I'm suffocating underneath it day after day, week after week, month after month, okay? Don't get me wrong, I still have some tough days here and there, but it usually doesn't last too long, a day, two maybe. After that, I know how to get myself out of it, okay? But it's about learning to create that safety in your body consistently. So now when you go to do something, you're using the appropriate level of energy that's needed. So when I was burnt out, something that only really needed, let's say 10% of my energy was eating up 50% of my energy because my system wasn't running efficiently. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't optimizing. Had brain fog. I was doing things over and over because I was so exhausted and repeating myself. And so something again that only needed 10% of my energy now needed 50%. So I wasn't running efficiently. And so the idea of thinking of like, hey, maybe we can make some dietary changes. Maybe we don't need sugar all day long. The thought of making those changes seemed impossible because my life was using so much more of my capacity and bandwidth than it needed to. Okay. But by dealing with my nervous system and getting it back to a place of running efficiently, now things that need 10% only take 10%, and things that need 20% only take 20%, which gives me the energy and the time and the space to now make actual adjustments in my life, like having a healthier relationship with food. If you're a high achiever, you probably feel the exhaustion that comes with always pushing and carrying the load. And here's the honest truth. Burnout doesn't fix itself by working harder or pushing more. You're not meant to just survive your success. You're someone who leads with impact and depth and intention, and you deserve to feel calm and connected while doing it. So imagine showing up present for your work and your personal relationships, feeling calm and grounded instead of constantly stretched. If that's what you want, this is exactly what we do in the Higher Alignment program. Book your assessment call through the link in the show notes, and let's get you back to balance and back to feeling like yourself again. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love cookies. I love cheesecake. I love dessert. I love a pasta. I love all the same foods that you do. Like I am a foodie at heart. I'm an Asian girl, okay? I think if you look at foodie, there is a picture of us next to it in the dictionary, okay? I love food. However, I don't need to overeat anymore. I don't need to rely on like carbs and sugar to make me feel good. I can actually eat meals that are like supportive and nutrient to my body and still feel satisfied and satiated from it. And as a result of it, I feel more confident in my body. My energy levels are better. I can show up for my team, for my clients, for my soon to be husband, for my family way better because the nutrients and fuel that's going into my body are actually supportive to the life I live, right? Because I'm not in survival mode anymore. Like, and again, like from a physical standpoint, I feel way more confident in myself, right? I feel confident knowing that what I put in has a certain impact on my body and I actually have control over that. I never felt like I had control over it before. And control in a very regulated way. Like I'm not sitting here, don't get me wrong, I think every person has something on their body they want to improve. But like my relationship from food isn't coming from a place now of like, oh my God, I just feel so unhappy in my body. I need to change things. Now it's from a place of like, hey, what would happen if I did this? Hey, if I did this instead, how would I be able to like change how my ass looks in these jeans or how my abs are showing up or like how strong I am. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I actually have control over how that happens in my body. And it's because food doesn't have a hold over me anymore. I actually have control over what goes in. And it's not from a place of feeling strict or forced. Again, I still let myself enjoy things, but going back to a very nutrient, protein dense, healthy meal actually feels comforting to me still. And I can enjoy it and I don't feel guilty about what I'm putting in my body because I actually enjoy eating it. And again, the biggest thing is I'm not addicted to sugar the way I once was. Like, I can have a little bite, I can have a half of something, and it's usually pretty satisfying for me. So, my point in this episode is when you're regulated, these things that seem so hard for you to do at one time actually don't feel as hard anymore. Is it still an effort I have to make with this new like the situation I'm in right now with food as far situation, the relationship I'm in right now with food? Like again, I still use a food tracker every day. I still pay attention to what's on my plate. But it's not taxing, it's not stressful. It's actually something I'm motivated to do and feel very balanced in when I do it. And because of that, I know this is something I'll be able to sustain long term because it's not a fad diet I'm pushing on myself. It's not something that I'm just trying to do for the moment. It's something that I actually want to maintain and make a lifestyle change. Okay. The other thing I will also touch on is I don't throw up anymore like I used to. I'll be honest, I probably in the last couple years maybe had 2 instances of throwing up, and it's probably a little bit of combination of stress, but also some food that wasn't great. But again, I used to throw up about once a week from stress. In the past couple years, it's probably been 2 or 3 times out of 2 or 3 years. So like maybe once a year, okay? And so again, the reason I'm not throwing up the way I used to is because my body can actually process food properly right now. First off, I'm not eating on the go like I used to, and I actually make an intention of not doing that. Like I wait till I can sit down, I can be present. I try to not have any screens on around me. Sometimes Thomas and I enjoy like a cooking show at night when we're eating dinner, but like I'm not trying to work while I eat anymore. So I don't do that, which allows my body to again be present, be regulated, and digest my food properly. But then again, now that my stress is way more manageable and I have the proper tools and system to process it, I can process my food properly, which again allows me to choose better, healthier meals that actually support my muscle growth and my body recomposition, and are good for my energy and my glucose levels and all that kind of stuff. Um, but also, it allows me to absorb the nutrients properly from the food as well too. And so now I don't have a stomach ache all day when I'm eating. I can just actually go through my day and feel at peace. And so, again, I think I mentioned in the last episode, I can think of 3 clients right now whose IBS symptoms improved by about 80% doing the work we did. And it wasn't because I'm an IBS coach and I knew exactly what to prescribe them. It's because they learned how to manage their stress properly. So now their digestion system is actually doing what it's supposed to do. Okay. So, way less sugar in my life, no more throwing up, able to have the capacity to actually choose healthy, nutrient-dense meals and monitor what I'm putting in my body to allow me to feel more confident in my clothes, in my own skin, and just feel more energized and like I can show up for the world. And not because I pushed food or diet or exercise or anything like that, purely because I learned how to manage my stress properly. Okay. So again, if you're at a point right now where you're thinking, "Oh my god, like I know I need to eat better," or "I know I wanna get in the gym more," or "I know I just wanna feel more confident in my clothes," like, yes, we will look at the relationship with your food and your substances and vices per se, but we also just wanna look at how are you managing your stress? Because that is the root of all of it. You guys know every single symptom a human can go through, what is always listed in potential root causes? Stress. Whether it's weight gain, diabetes, heart attacks, cancer, all of it gets amplified by stress. Every one of them. So instead of beating yourself up and saying, I need more willpower, I need more discipline, how about we say, how do I learn how to process my stress better so I actually have the capacity to follow through and feel more confident in my body the way I want to? I'm telling you that it's possible. And this is from someone who never had a good relationship with food. I know I don't wanna be tone deaf and not understanding that, like, again, I've always been relatively in shape because 'cause I've always been really active and maybe had some, like, some good genetic stuff going on there, but it doesn't cover up the fact that I was an emotional eater, and it showed its ways in inflammation and poor energy and afternoon crashes and all these things, okay? But can you change your relationship with food? Absolutely. But you gotta do it from a place of having capacity, of having some gas in the tank so you can actually work on this. If you try to do it without that, it's not gonna last, it's not gonna be sustainable, okay? You can feel more confident. You can feel like you trust what you're putting in your body. You can not feel guilty or eating certain things. You can put them in your body and actually enjoy them and not shame or guilt yourself while you're eating them. It's all possible. But again, it all comes back to capacity. As we go through this series, we're going to tap on different areas of my life. So we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about my day-to-day routine now versus before. We're going to talk about all these things. But if there's anything else you specifically want me to touch on, shoot me a DM. LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm here for all the suggestions. I'm here for you guys. So let me know if there's any other area of my life that you want to touch on or you want to know about as far as before when I was dysregulated versus now what my life looks like. Let me know, shoot me a DM, and we'll see you in the next episode.